All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tackle and Tacos, a fishing podcast. Uh, man, we got a good one.
Real
I'm
good.
ready for a real good one. Yeah,
Real good.
the pinnacle, if you will,
Really.
like
Yeah.
a champion status episode,
Yeah.
if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
Returning guest that we're super stoked for, Jeff Gustafson, Bassmaster Classic champion. Golly, yeah. I know it. I know it's got to never get old saying that.
No doubt.
Yeah,
That's gotta be what
I
it
can
is, right?
only.
Like if you won what was homeboy's name? Trent Dilfer. Do you remember him? Quarterback for the Ravens,
Just barely. Yeah,
worst Super Bowl winning quarterback ever. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And certainly I'm not comparing Gussy to him. I'm just saying, like, once you win one, nobody can ever take that from you. Like, that's it.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's for
And
sure.
maybe Gussy doesn't relate. We could say, what's it called up there? The Grey Cup is now at the Canadian, right? I mean the Stanley Cup,
Yeah,
of course. I feel like NHL is
right.
predominantly Canadian, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, that's pretty dope. Like, you win one and like you're a champ, and that's
Yeah,
incredible. And
yeah.
honestly, the thing about Gussy, I think, similar to some of the other really neat people we've had on this podcast, they're just authentic human beings. Like, there's nothing pretentious, forced, fake, put on. Like, if you watch I don't know, a Wired to Fish video with him or an interview after the Classic, you just believe the things that he says because he doesn't have this fake vibe. And I
Yeah.
think that's maybe as much, if not more, than the classic champ status of why I really like this dude, why he's always been one of my favorites from FLW to classic champ to whatever. He's just a sincere human being. So it's going to be pretty exciting to talk to him about some stuff. How's your life been, Nate? How's wrestling going for your son?
Wrestling is
Wrestling.
taking up some time for sure.
Yeah.
But it's going good. It's fun. He's enjoying it. And just anytime you have little ones in a sport or really anything that they kind of have to show some sort of knowledge towards, or understanding, watching their progression at
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
they get better and better and better at it. It's inspiring. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
He's really really coming into it. So it's fun, but man, it's taken up some time. We had practice today, or
Yeah.
actually earlier this evening, and they had it about 95 degrees in the wrestling
Perfect.
room. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sitting there watching, just absolutely pouring sweat, just rolling
Doing
down.
nothing, just sweating. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
standing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal, but other than that, that pretty good. Feeling better from the last episode.
Yeah.
Had
You were
had
you were
had the
struggling.
sniffles,
Yeah.
a bit, but I'm a couple Sudafeds deep.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're good. We're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that last episode, which was Matt, the CEO of Omnia, super cool cat. Or at least the last one we kind of just recorded the night before. I don't
Yeah.
know what order we're releasing these when, whatever. But I asked him to send me a few pictures that we could use for like the episode art, And he
Hmm.
sends me one. It's like super dope. It's like a very sort of stoic, black and white, like just a headshot, real professional. Second one is him on like a deeper, what's that called? Is it the WX or whatever, the deeper skeeters, like the bigger boat, the bigger water skeeters
Oh
with a real nice,
yeah.
probably 5-6 pound largemouth. And then one is him sitting on like this snowmobile that's got to be worth like 35 cents. And he's sitting there like, bleh, whatever. And I thought about using that one because he's like such a professional guy, but to use that would have been
Yeah.
really funny. But yeah, he was a cool cat for sure. So is Addison, your son, is he putting any moves on you? Like, is he full Nelsoning you, which I know is not like a real move, but like, has he ever come home and just whoop you or what?
Yeah, yeah. Not
Yeah.
quite the full Nelson. Not quite the full Nelson yet, but yeah,
Okay.
when you're least expecting it, he will definitely try to sweep you, or the single leg takedown in the kitchen
Yeah.
while we're trying to cook something. Yeah, he's
Perfect.
yeah, he doesn't let you slide. That's for
Is he
sure.
using these moves on his sister? Is his sister loving this?
Yeah, yeah, they do. They do. It's pretty funny. I went to Harbor Freight and bought like those click together like floor mats that you can stand on and stuff. And
Mhm.
I bought enough that they like spread out the entire living room. So those two like will wrestle each other in the living
That's
room. And
dope.
yeah, she's about twice his size, so he's really giving it all he's got.
Yeah, he's getting toughened up. He's
Yeah.
gonna fight
Yes,
somebody
yeah.
his size. It's gonna be easy. That's like when when
Yeah,
you're
it's good
practicing
for him.
archery, shoot at 80. Then when the deer comes in at 30, it's like hitting the broadside of a barn. It actually
Absolutely.
works. But
Yeah.
well, let's get moving on. Let's keep the train rolling down the tracks. I was gonna say as they say, but I don't know if anybody's ever actually said that before. I don't know if that's the same.
I don't know.
Anyway, so Tackling Tacos, a fishing podcast. We are brought to you by every episode. Our title sponsor is Grizzly Coolers. We love everything they do. All the stuff they make is so legit, so thought through. Nate's got that beauty back there. That one's dope too because it's a smaller cooler with the big metal handle on top. And it's still like here, tip it forwards a little bit and open it so we can see like how insulated that thing is. Like that thing's awesome. Like you put some ice in there, some cold. It's staying cold. Long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really dope.
Big thick seal on it.
Yeah, that gasket on top is no joke.
Yeah.
They redid the clasps and the closers, and yeah, they're legit.
It's got Grizzly like printed into the clasp, into the hold down. So I mean, it's
fancy. When you want to impress your friends, you show them the clasp, and they go, "Oh my gosh, it says Grizzly on there." Oh my gosh, holy shit! 15% off the whole website with code WCB. Whiskey Charlie Bravo, which is Working Class Bow Hunter, the podcast network we're honored to be a part of. Giltech, swim jigs, Ned heads, boot tail swim jigs, or boot tail swim baits, finesse jigs, all kind of dope stuff. Made up in Wakapanendanaki, Wisconsin. I can never Waspanaki, or I don't know what it is, way up north, like up above Green Bay, like cold area. Dope stuff though. If you want to find it on social, GILLTEK. Again, I truly believe, not just pitching it, they're the best swim jigs I've ever thrown, and I freaking love throwing swim jigs. They're durable, they're smart, they're designed well, super dope colors, good bait keeper for your trailer on the back, just dope. Hook and Arrow Supply Co. It's the only place online you can actually get those. And then last but not least, Loophole Optics. We love their stuff. Their sunglasses are just next level comfort, looks, vibes, the polarization being sandwiched in between layers of the lenses, so you can't scratch it off, you can't wear it off, it's not going anywhere. And there actually is, this is like objective, this isn't just my opinion trying to pitch something, there actually is different levels of polarization in terms of sunglasses. That's why you can get some polarized sunnies for $10 at Quick Trip or a gas station or whatever, and they'll work okay. But when you step up to a higher level polarization, it just cuts through that glare so directly, you can really see in the water better. And then past that, it also protects your eyeballs. That's a big deal. When I was younger,
that's a big deal.
It is, man. When I was younger and impossibly, you wouldn't think it was possible, but when I was even dumber than I be right now, I would fish tournaments in Texas and I would not wear sunglasses on the boat because I was always afraid to get super bad raccoon eyes, like everybody gets, like you always see that in those lines. And I was afraid of that. And then I ended up having to go to like the optometrist because I had this little like lump on my eyeball called surfer's eye. And she was like, "Do you fish a lot? Are you on the water a lot?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, you wear your glasses, right?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "You're stupid." She was basically just, you have to wear them. And so like, good glasses, Loopholes are our favorite, but whatever. It's real important you have them junks on when you're on the water so you don't F up your eyes. Social media at Tackling Tacos, YouTube at Tackling Tacos, tacklingtacos.com. I'll throw the little banner on there right now. Everything we have on the website is still on discount until we get rid of it. And then we actually oversold the number of hats that we have at discount. So they're actually making more, but keeping them at that discounted price, which is pretty dope. Sticker sheets, stickers, shirts, everything is like at or below cost. So get it while you can, because come spring, we're going to revamp, relaunch the website, the store, redo everything. And I think that's it. Waypoint TV. We're super, super stoked to be working with those fellas. Is that it, Nate? What else we got?
I think you hit them all. But your little your story of fishing down in Texas reminded me of I had the same thing happen. I didn't get a lump on my eye, but I'm about 90% sure I got sunburnt in my eyeballs. Like,
oh yeah, that's a thing. Yeah,
it was absolutely brutal. I fished a Bass Open. RIP to the co-anglers in the Bass Open. But yeah, I fished a Bass Open down in Louisiana on the Red River, and it was rough. I was sunburnt like crazy. I couldn't see because I'm pretty sure my eyes were sunburnt because I didn't wear any sunglasses. It was a bad deal.
Yeah, so it's no joke. You should definitely. I have in the boat right now, which is just to my left. I have, I think, 2 backup pairs of sunnies. One is a pair of Loopholes and one's just like a cheap one in case I got some kiddos, whatever. But like, it's so important, dude. Not only for seeing,
no doubt,
but also protect yourself. So I think that's
Yep.
it. You want to bring the dude in or what?
Let's bring him in.
All
Absolutely.
right. So
The
this guy,
man.
like I said, one of our favorites, just in general, not because he's been on our show. He's just one of our favorite dudes in terms of fishing. Super authentic, really real. He was on episode 29, so that was quite a while back, and we didn't have any like direct connection or like hookup where we knew a guy who knew a guy. We literally just messaged him and we're like, hey man, we have a podcast. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll be on it. Like just right away, just so friendly. And this dude's a hammer from FLW days to the elites, classic Bassmaster Classic champion. Which interesting side note, I was watching that thing. I think it's called The Cast. That like history of BASS. I don't know if anybody's seen that on TV or on the YouTubes. It's pretty dope. And in the old classics, you know how now they always say the Super Bowl of bass fishing. Back then they called it the World Series of bass fishing, which I think is interesting. They just flip sports.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know why. I just thought that was an interesting, like, why change it? You know, maybe Super Bowl is more
funny.
popular. I don't know. But a winner of the Super Bowl of bass fishing, of course, the Bassmaster Classic champ. And yeah, we're pumped to have him on. So welcome back to the podcast, Jeff Gustafson. What up, Gussy?
What's going on, boys? I think the Super Bowl is better than the World Series.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
too.
I get down with that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was listening to a promo with like Bill Dance. It was him and some other fella like neck and neck in like the third classic or something, and they're like, now the classic, just so everybody's aware, is like the World Series of bass fishing. And I was like, whoa, that's weird because now it's just so common, you know?
Yeah.
So Gussy, how the heck are you? How's life? What's been going on?
I'm good. I'm doing good. We've been in a deep freeze for the past week up here in Canada. So
yeah.
But just been working in my garage all day. Just starting to get tackle and rods and fishing gear organized for the upcoming season. I'm gonna start heading south here at the end of the month, and
okay.
Get down to Florida, and that's where our first two events are. So
yeah,
it's an exciting time of year. It's always like I've got a couple weeks before I'm gonna go, but I have lots to do, and I just keep like putting like over the holidays I could have got so much more done than I did.
yeah, totally. So Gussy, have you ever thought of, or do you have any desire? I don't know if we asked you this last time. I don't think so. Have you ever considered moving south away from Canada? Is that just totally off the table to you?
It would be nice to have a home base. Like if I won the Classic again and I could afford another, to have a home base like in Tennessee, Alabama, somewhere there. But I don't know. Like we love it up here in the summers. It's beautiful, and here. So it's just it's hard to leave. And then it is nice, like in the winter. Like I do like this time of year. Like I like a little bit of winter, but by the end of January, I'm ready to go south. So
yeah, that makes perfect sense for sure. Is your wife cool with it? Does she like the cold?
I mean, yeah, like I think like me, like tolerant for a bit, but
sure.
we like to go to Florida and Texas and to the warm places for sure when it to kill something off.
Yeah, definitely. For sure, man. That makes a lot of sense. I love winter, but right now in Wisconsin, it's like the dumbest of both worlds. So it's ice cold. Like right now it is 13 with a feels like of 3. So like that's pretty cold. I'm sure it might be colder where you are. But we have no snow either. So it's just stupid. So like I love snowboarding. My kids love sledding and snowboarding. So it's cold with no snow. That's just dumb to me. I don't like that.
Yeah. No, it's the snow definitely helps make it better. We got a bit of snow like early December, so we have a good base in the like on the ground, but the lakes, it all kind of softened up and melted last. It just all turned to a big ice. It's just ice. There's literally like no snow, so it's kind of like I've been going ice fishing quite a bit and go by snowmobile, and like it's pretty tough on the snowmobile, like just not having that snow to cool things and lube things up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, dang, I didn't think about that. Yeah, and do you ice fish on Lake of the Woods? Right there? Yeah, I figued.
How's it been?
It's pretty good. Like I just go and eat like dinner and all eyes. Like I'm gonna go do a lake trout tour here one day in the next week. Probably tomorrow. Actually, it looks like we're gonna get a little bit of a warm up. But yeah, mostly just go catch a bunch of walleyes. It's pretty easy to just go for a few hours, and Yeah, good little getaway. Go for a ride.
So do you have, I mean, I know like it's your home body, like it's your home body of water, Lake of the Woods, but do you have it pretty dialed? I mean, for being a million, I know it sounds stupid, but it's a million acres, right? Like, do you run into new stuff? Do you find new spots? What's that like?
Well, I just pretty much, I kind of live out by the west arm of the lake. So that's where I fish mostly. And I just leave from my house on snowmobile. I'm like about a minute I can be on the lake. And yeah, like we just got the like good lake master mapping in the last couple of years for the north end of the lake. So I literally never go to the same spot twice, really, hardly ever in a season. Like early in the year, like I've been fishing a lot of my like favorite spots over the last several years, but places that are usually always pretty good. But yeah, there's just so many little bumps, and it's all just fishing deep structure. And yeah, so that's kind of cool. It's every once in a while you get a spot that's like too steep and it's no good, but most of the stuff, if it looks good on the map, it is pretty good. So
yeah, that's awesome. Golly, man.
Yeah.
I can't get my brain around it. A million acres. Like there's a nice
Right.
lake by me, Gussy, Lake Wissota, which actually the elites were on like a whole bunch of years ago, and they all hated it, which is not really showing out for Wisconsin. But anywho, it's like 6,500 or something acres, so it's just shy of Lake of the Woods size, and like regularly there I'll find like a new hump or like a new like kind of collar, like a little horseshoe shaped indention, and I'm like, oh man, and I'll pull up on it and I'll catch fish, and that's on 6,500 acres. So I just can't imagine fishing literally, like it is literally a million, right? That's not overshooting it, right?
million acres and 14,000 islands. It's massive. I've been kind of, but there's like so much of it I've never seen, even, and spend a lot of time out there. I don't get to spend as much time now as I used to, especially doing like the big adventure trips. But a lot of the time when I go, it's like I'm going to the areas that that are fairly close that I know, and fishing's good.
Man, that's sweet, man. Well, let's jump into some some fish specific stuff. When I told a couple friends that we were having you back on, a common thread of people being like, "Dude, ask him this," came up like right away, and that was all the buzz around Mega Live 2. And you told us beforehand you were able to get your hands on it in Australia, which I knew some people when I used to work at this church who were from Australia, and they said they hate it when people say Australia. You have to say Australia. Australia. I don't know. Anyway, can you? I don't know, but it's like when I went to Newfoundland, they say Newfoundland there, like the Newfies, they all say that. So I'm not sure. I guess it's just like a pronunciation thing. Anyway, we're getting off the rails, Jeff. Can you?
Yeah, you're probably right. When I'm over there, I pretty much just say they know what I'm talking about. Maybe.
Yeah, they let you go
on my ass if I was saying it and it was wrong for sure.
Yeah. So give us what you know so far about Mega Live 2, differences, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so Carl and I were over there in November, fished the Barramundi tour, and it was pretty fun. But used the forward sonar quite a bit, both in landscape mode and forward mode. And big upgrade from version 1 for sure. Like we had no problem seeing our 80 or 100 feet, and it was a lot better. So yeah, we caught all our fish over there with it. We actually fished 4 events. We got a second, a third, a first, and a 15th. And there's like around 40 teams per tournament, and it's like some of the funnest fishing I've ever done in my life. These things, like, they get big and they fight so hard and like go nuts. Like if you land like 6 out of 10 that you hook, you're doing pretty good. So it's
wow.
It was an awesome experience. But yeah, we fished hard for like 10 days and ran the Mega Live 2 pretty hard, and yeah, it was all good. I'm putting it on my boat this year. I'm looking forward to letting her rip.
Yeah, that's great, man. Nate, you got any questions with it? Because I know you and we both run Live Scope, but I've actually even seen videos on YouTube where dudes are saying it's as good as like the Live Scope stuff, which I think Garmin was kind of the benchmark, or is, for a long time. What do you think, Nate? Have you heard anything?
I haven't heard a whole lot other than kind of what Gussy was saying with like the range being considerably better, and then kind of the layout seeming to change from like a 2D, which it was primarily, to almost like a 3D imaging now, to where it's a lot more crisp. Picturing kind of more similar to that of the live scope.
Yeah, right on. You agree, Gussy?
Yeah, no, it was like I said, a big upgrade. I ran the version 1 for several years, and I ran a scope last year. So I've got to use everything out there, and yeah, no, it's I'm excited for it for sure. Big
Yeah, right on.
upgrade, and yeah, we had a prototype unit, and we had a few little glitches and stuff with it that I think are all cleared up now, and but yeah, otherwise, Carl had a lot of videos he posted. He's been posting with it if people wanted to check some of that out on his social media, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I want to ask you, speaking of like upgrades and differences and whatever, are you running Talons again this year, Gussy?
Yeah, I do. I like the Talons because it's just 2 wires to hook up. Not they're like bulletproof. Like I've for 15 years, or I don't know how long they've been around, probably 15 years. I've hardly ever had an issue with one. So yeah, and just I like that I get the 12-footer, so I can use them a little for water, like especially around home. So
yeah. Does anybody at Minn Kota like push you like, no, come on, man, go to the Raptors. That's our new. Are they just like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine?
Yeah, no, because I think they're cool with it because I'm the only one that runs them, I think. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, they work good for me, and they the Raptors look better for sure, but they're so easy to hook up, and I can tilt them down if I want to go underneath something. But yeah, they've worked for me, so I'm gonna stick with it as long as they keep making them.
Yeah, that's literally the only reason I was asking you, because I do think you're the only dude still running Talons. I run Talons personally, but I'm not a pro angler. Like I feel like everybody else went Raptor. But the one thing, I only have the 8s on my boat. But the thing I like about them is it's the newest generation of 8s. They're really little, so they stay real low below like the cowling, like they don't get in the way for anything. And I think they're a practical shallow water anchor still.
Yeah, no, they work. Like I've had mine down in like in big water, and like they hold better than anything else. Or last year when I was getting my boat rigged at Hennessy Outdoors, they actually put a Raptor, a Talon, and a pole like on a scale, and the Talon did pretty good. So I'll put it like that. So how, like if you down like pound pressure they put down, the Talon is like not getting beat.
That's awesome. Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's great. What any other, can you give us any other insights on your boat for the 2025 season?
I've got my last year's boat sitting right here in the shop with me. My dad actually bought this one, so we've been just fixing a couple things up on it, tweaking a few things. My new one's here. I'm probably gonna get working on that over the next day or two. And but same boat, Lund 2075 Pro V Bass, 250 Pro XS, and yeah, but Humminbird electronics. And yeah, like nothing. There's nothing sneaky or unusual. It's just a regular setup, kind of similar to what everyone else is gonna have.
Yeah.
I got a new rule this year where you can only have one forward sonar transducer.
Oh, right.
So it's and a limit on like the inches of screen, so it keeps it a little bit reasonable. It's still ridiculous, like the equipment that everyone's sort of forced to use, but it is.
Are you looking at, sorry, Nate, I know you got some questions about his boat too, but are you looking at the Explorer, any of that new stuff? Are you keeping it with like the Apex and junk that you were running last year?
Yeah, I'm running Apex 13s, 2 on the front and 2 on the console. So the front one I'll kind of dedicate one to live and then one to 360 and mapping. And then at the console, I'll run one for a map and can kind of do everything, and then one for side imaging, down imaging, and finding, those are my eyes.
Yeah.
There.
Heck
Right
yeah.
on.
Yeah, I was just wondering, being that Lund is obviously an aluminum boat, is there any like specific rigging or anything that that you do differently to guys that are running glass boats?
Yeah, like one thing that is different, it's kind of dark in here, so it's sort of hard to see, but I can't run through hull transducers, so you can see I've got some side imaging deucers just kind of coming off the jack plate.
Okay, yeah.
And some high speed deucers just sort of on the bottom on a flat spot. And I don't know if you guys could see that or not.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
But that's something that's a little bit different. As for everything else, the boys like getting after it on my boat because it's pretty easy to rig up. It's roomy for running everything, and yeah. But no, it's a good fishing machine, and yeah, I love it.
Yeah, for
Heck
sure.
yeah.
Are you going to keep your carpet decals like you did last year on the center storage locker? I thought that looked so clean, dude.
Yeah, no, that's what I've been doing for the last few years. So
Is
yeah,
it? Okay, yeah.
ordered those up today from Z-Decal down in Georgia, and
Mhm.
yeah, they that's what I've been doing. So I think I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah, that's cool. I know these are kind of dorky questions. I don't know the way your brain works and how guys do stuff. I always wonder, like, when dudes go pro and they can talk to Minn Kota and be like, yeah, can I have this or can I use that or whatever? Like, does that ever get old? Like having these really dope high level sponsors. Like I watched a video of you maybe, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and it was a moping video. It was a Demiki rig video, and you're busting out the NRX with the Stella. Does that kind of stuff ever get old, Gussy?
No, but like, yeah, I mean, here's the thing that does is like I've been really lucky, have great sponsors, and have time. I wouldn't get to do this without that. But like, it's kind of like the more little bit higher level you get, the more it gets to be more stressful because people have higher expectations and want more. And it's just like, it's crazy how like you just never have as much free time as you want. And yeah, it just like the seasons just sort of keep flying by. It's crazy, but yeah, no, it's no one's gonna complain about getting to use an NRX and a Stella.
No.
I don't like full arsenal of them or anything like crazy or anything like, but I do have a few of them, and they're a pleasure to use for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, so you just said something that made me think, and maybe this isn't how your brain works, but when you know, like if I'm fishing a derby and I don't do super well in it, which happens sometimes for me, I'm just like, dang it. You know, I'm like, shoot, I didn't do too well, or I missed a couple fish. Then I go back and analyze, like, dude, why didn't I do this, or why did I, whatever. When you have these high level sponsors, do you feel like you're letting them down, or do you feel extra pressure to perform for them, or is it still just about you performing to your level?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's always pretty supportive, but like I know how it goes. Like if you're not producing, you're gonna get you're going to get kicked out, and then the sponsorship stuff's going to kind of go away. But yeah, I don't know, there's pressure for sure, because yeah, that everyone, even just your buddies, everyone's watching, they want to see how you're doing, and they're I think for the most part, like, people are supportive and want you to do well, but like it's yeah, it doesn't always work out. I keep it, it's crazy. Like I've said this before and other people have too, but like the highs are really high in fishing and the lows are low. And like, you can't really get too emotional, like either way when those happen. Cause the next day or the next tournament, like no matter how good your day was, you're starting over again. And, it's, you're not going to be the best every day. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a great way of summing it up for sure. And especially in the elites, like sometimes the tournaments are stacked right on top of each other. You ain't got no time to sit around and be like, dang it. Like it's right into practice on the next one. So yeah.
When I like, so now when I'm at home right now, this time of year, working in my shop quite a bit, and I'll watch a lot of the Bass live shows from last year. And like, yeah, you see some of the stuff that the guys that are winning are doing. And it's just like, sometimes it's so easy, and sometimes it's just stuff I never would have done at all. But like there's some times where you're just like, man, I was so close to figuring that out, or going to that little zone, or just, it was easy. But yeah, you got to figure it out quick, and that's one of the big challenges.
Yeah, dang.
Which
Yeah, that's
which
exactly right.
which part of that feels worse, when you don't have a great tournament but you were completely off the mark, or you didn't have a great tournament but you were like, just like the spot was wrong, or
Yeah.
just something,
Just
the
one
spot was right
little.
but just the bait was wrong? Like, which
Yeah.
one feels worse?
Yeah, no, there's like definitely when you're this close, but you're so far away. But it was just like
Right.
you had to do different, or just go like one more turn around on the river. And but it's easy like after the fact when you see how it's done. But yeah, those ones are the ones that definitely hurt the most, because yeah, you're just like, I get pissed off, like,
Yeah.
I should have figured that out.
Are you Gussie, are you a naturally competitive dude, like in normal stuff?
Oh yeah, like I drive my wife nuts, because it's doing a Sudoku little puzzle, and like I want to race her. Yeah, she's like not super competitive like I am, and I get it. Like my family's kind of like that way, so yeah.
So let me ask you about something I wasn't really planning on bringing up, and you don't have to get into any of the weeds on it at all, dude. But we did ask you beforehand, is anything off out of bounds, and you said no. So this is your fault if it's bad. Last year, obviously, there was a lot of drama at different times on the Elite Series, and I'm not going to ask you to talk about the drama. I don't give a rat's ass about it, honestly. I truly don't. And like, if I see one more video of a grown ass man with a camera facing himself that has nothing to do with it, putting his opinion on it on YouTube, I'm just going to scream. Anyway, all I want to ask about is, was it as big in the Elites as people were making it, like outside of the Elites, or was it really not that big of a whoop?
No, there was a few instances where guys were like really, really, because like the word gets around, like we're all buddies mostly, or there's a lot of like little cliques of buddies. So yeah, there was a few times, like probably the most fired up everyone got was like at Wheeler Lake, when we're like through the second day of practice, and I get to the boat ramp, and everyone's talking about is like, yeah, all those kids are making brush piles, and there's like videos of them, and it's just like, really. And I didn't know the rules. You were allowed to do that in Alabama, I guess, or maybe you weren't. And no, they weren't, but they only ended up getting warnings. But it was in pre-practice, so nobody couldn't be penalized. But that was, and like thinking back on it now, it's like it's not that big of a deal to me. But like, guys were hot about that when that happened.
Yeah. I remember there was I felt like there was a few different times things got all stupid this year. I just didn't know if it felt different because we're not in it like you are.
No, and I like before last year, like I can't remember like stuff, like I remember saying it a few times throughout the year. Like I've never fished a season where like just so many little things were happening that it was just sort of unusual. But hopefully that won't happen again this year. I hope it doesn't. I don't think it's going to. I think some of those kids that maybe made a few mistakes last year, they're probably going to grow up a little bit and just be more experienced, and do their job. But
Yeah, right on. Yeah. All right, so let's switch just a little bit. I know we talked to you about Mega Live 2 and your boat and some other stuff. I don't have a specific question here, Gussy, but I want to touch on Northland. It seems like if you're from like northern Wisconsin, like I am, Northland was always like the cool company with like affordable jigs and like the reef runner spinner baits and whatever. And now they're like doing the dang thing. Like they're really like going for it. I don't know if it's just marketing or what's going on, but what can you tell us about Northland?
yeah, just for my relationship with them, especially, like I do a lot of walleye fishing, ice fishing, so use the stuff since I was a little kid. And but yeah, in the last few years, really have gotten a lot more in depth with the high end bass tackle, building a lot of jigs with gamma hooks and primo finishes and well thought out bait keepers, all, just good like tournament quality jigs. And then we've got the Smeltinator jig now that originated up at Lake of the Woods, where I live, but Northland's now manufacturing that and is able to get it out with a lot wider reach. So it's a jig that I've used for like 10 plus years, doing the minnow thing and moping thing. And it's sort of my favorite jig head for doing that stuff. It's got a good keeper on it, good hook in it, really nice paint jobs, and but yeah, and more good stuff on the way. Some tungsten stuff coming down the pipe, swim jigs, spinner baits, just good tournament quality tackle.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember when I was a kid, I would play basketball with my buddies, and we'd be playing like 1-on-1, and then I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna start playing for real now. Like when I'd be getting beat really bad, it feels like Northland was like, all right, we're gonna be for real now. It's like they just kicked it up. Like they have some dope like crankbaits, and it just seems like they've always been around, but now they're killing it.
Yeah, no, the Bagley, yeah. So they've owned Bagley for quite a few years, and now a lot of the newer baits are just being branded under Northland, but a lot of cool balsa baits, in cold water, some of the flat baits are the deal, and then shallow warm water like the square bills are the deal. So we've got the balsa baits kind of covered in for some of that stuff, and they're niche baits, but when they work, they're the best. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you think that's just like credit to like it's time to kind of advance, or do you think that was like, hey, we've got this guy that can absolutely catch him that's on our squad. Do we need to feed him a little bit more?
It's been a little bit of both. I think like I've been pushing them to, this is what we need. And they have a lot of good anglers. Like they've over the last few years, especially, good anglers sort of on pro staff and also on staff in the office that, are real fish heads and, know good equipment and good tackle. So that's been a big part of it. John Peterson's, who started the company, his nephews, Jason, Charlie, are still working there and are still today, and they're really big on a lot of the new bait designs over the last few years and continuing to do so. But yeah, we've got some cool stuff coming down the pipe, and just looking forward to the season coming up and getting to use a lot of it.
Yeah, that's dope. I also noticed, obviously, the last couple of years, or maybe it was just last year, you had the way bigger Northland placement on the boat wrap and the truck wrap. It looks really good too, like the yellow and red.
Yeah, I know they're my title sponsor, and it's been a great fit. Like, we're both from Bemidji is like where it started, is like 4.5 hours south of me. So yeah, it's just been they're popular up here in Canada too. Like a lot of the Northland jigs and products. So yeah, it's been a really good fit.
Yeah, you ever throw those reef runners, Gussy?
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah, growing up, yeah, big time.
Yeah, they're like, I remember when I would go to Canada to go fishing. We always had this little spot just northeast of Lake Nipigon. I don't know if you know where that is. And we would load up at Cabela's in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. Well, I would on my way up Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. I'd load up on like 20 white reef runners because you could just catch pike till your hands hurt, and pike just tear stuff up. But reef runners were like $1.99. You know what I'm saying? So you just load up on, just clear the peg off.
Yeah, no, I remember I fished the PWT had a couple tournaments at Wabigoon Lake in Dryden back in like 2007, 2008, around then, and I fished one of them. And the year before, it had got one with like a guy casting a little reef runner, like not the big like long bait, but like one of the sort of more of a shallow casting bait. And yeah, I remember I had a whole box full of them, like thinking that was the deal there. And I don't know how many fish I ended up ever catching on them, but they're a pile of stuff somewhere.
That's awesome. So let's, Gussy, if you're cool with this, I want to ask you not a personal question, like a weird personal question, but just as a human being more than like an angler, I guess is the right way of saying this. Last year, it's been a while since we've had you on. Last year at the Bassmaster Classic, for anybody listening who doesn't know this, it's right before the Classic, right? They do the Bassmaster Night of Champions, where everybody gets all dressed up. Unless you're Matt Robertson, then you dress like a pimp or whatever. But everybody else gets all dressed up and looks super nice. And what was it like going to the Night of Champions as the freaking Bassmaster Classic champion? I saw a picture of you and your wife next to this giant photo of you. Like, how does that feel, man? Can you even describe that?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, for sure. The last year was amazing after that happened and winning the tournament. Like, it's something that at least for me, like you don't ever think like you can't win or do that, but you just don't expect it. And, yeah, it was a cool year. There was a lot of awesome things that happened because of it. And that night was one of them for sure. And at the same time, kind of relieving to like carry on from it too. It was a busy, chaotic, a little bit more, but yeah, it was a lot of fun last year in Tulsa. I got to, I fished hard all week, and I was like, it was one of those tournaments where I was just kind of close, like I weighed in a couple big ones each day, but I just couldn't get a solid limit of them, and that you kind of got to fish for big ones there, and I feel like for the most part I did, but yeah, it was fun to like just get to be the king for a few days there before the tournament, and then get to carry on and then let someone else have a turn after.
Yeah, and it was cool watching you like hand it off to Hamner, who just seems like such a good dude. Like, he seems so solid. We got him coming on, I think, next week at some point, but I'm excited to hear his stories too, kind of his background and whatever,
Yeah, no, that was good to see him win. He's a guy that like is easy to cheer for, and obviously good stick. So yeah, no, it was a fun year, and you just want to do it again. The best part of it all was like the Sunday night after, just getting to like celebrate with everyone, and it was a fun, awesome experience.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. Yeah, I'll never forget when you were getting interviewed, Gussy, on the stage, and you didn't have like some super eloquent speech to say. Like, you were just on cloud nine, and you were like laughing and like just kind of just being so, I don't know if you were overwhelmed or just kind of absorbing or what, but it was so not polished that I freaking loved it. It just felt so sincere, dude. That was like I always liked you as an angler, but that moment I was like, man, this dude's the best. Like, I loved that.
Right on. No, yeah, it was kind of a little bit of just trying to take in the moment, and like it's such a blur, and like the lights are really bright up there, so you can't really see that great. But yeah, it was like, yeah, I still can't believe it. I still have moments like every week where I can't believe that it actually happened, but yeah, it's I get to go try again here in March in Texas, and yeah, that's the tournament that you want to win for sure.
Yeah, that's the one. So speaking of that, that's a great segue. We talked to, we want to, and you can be as brief or whatever on each one of these real quick, Gussy, but I want to go through, I think this could be really beneficial for people who are bass anglers, tournament anglers, to kind of hear kind of inside the mind of a high level pro such as yourself. And I want you to, if you can, don't factor in where you actually finished at all these stops, but more so look at it as like, how did I feel about how I fished? Because there's been times like, back in the day, boxing or whatever, like I got my teeth knocked in, but I actually thought I boxed well, but the guy I boxed was just on it that day. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not always like you did poorly. Sometimes somebody else, it was just their moment. So I want to go through all the stops of the 24 Elite Series. And like I said, this can be brief. You don't have to be here for the next 4 hours or something. But just go through each stop and just give a simple ranking 1 to 10 on how you thought you fished it and why. Is that cool?
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
And then after that, we'll go real briefly through the 25 and give us like a 1 to 10 on confidence going in and why, like how you're feeling pre, and hopefully you're spot on. Like hopefully you're like 10, 10, 10, and then you win all these tournaments, and then we can take the credit for it or something.
Thanks to myself right before we even start.
Okay, well you don't have to do that part then. You can just nod or something. You don't have to put it. You don't have to quantify it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, so last year, obviously, it's pretty cool. Like I loved getting to fish across the country, all the different types of lakes that we do throughout the season. So there was 9 Elite Series events, the Classic, and then I also fished that PAA event at Lake Lanier in April. It was that no forward
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
points, no practice. So that was that, and it was a $5,000 entry fee. So like it was kind of scary, but I did that. It was a lot of fun. And then I'm gonna go do it all again this year coming up. But
Heck yeah, man.
but yeah, I this is before I get into like each individual event, I guess I'll say like I finished 39th in points. So you got to make the top 40 to get in the Classic, and a few people double qualified, so it went to like 43 in points. But like I had a really good tournament. Last tournament of the year was my best one of the season at the St. Lawrence River, and I just squeaked in. But I think I was in like 45th heading into that last event. So, but like I fished. I feel like I'm fishing good right now. Like I fished pretty good last season, but like I had one bomb tournament. I finished like almost last at the St. John, so I got 0 points there. But other than that, like, and even there, I think I weighed in a limit every day of the season, except maybe I might have had 4 fish somewhere along the way. I don't know one, but maybe like on a day 3 or something. But like I was fishing pretty good, but it's like it's so competitive, and like if you just have a mediocre day anywhere along the line, like you're finishing in the 70s probably guaranteed. And that's changed a lot like in the last few years. So yeah, it was a eye opener, and I'm competitive. So like I want to be going into the last tournament like on a vacation because I'm already in the class, and where I can get to fish one throughout. Like every day is pretty stressful. Like if you have one bad day can cost you big time. That's just how tight it is and how good everyone is.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago, my dad said something to me about how like the absolute worst hockey player in the NHL, whoever that is, could go to any like rec league and absolutely murder everyone. Like just mop the floor. Do you think it's the same thing with like bass fishing?
I don't think there'd be quite the disparity probably like as a pro hockey player but I mean a little bit. Yeah, like as far as like just going around the country, because like obviously some anglers are really good in their home regions, but like to go around the country and do what some of these guys do, it's super impressive. And like they don't just like catch 5 fish at each of these places. Like they're catching 5, like they're catching 5 fish that would win most local tournaments any day of the week, at most of the places. So yeah, it's impressive. It gets harder and harder every year, and it's just going to continue to get that way.
Yeah, that's cool. Are you the type of dude in your competitive nature? Are you the type of dude that's like bring it on with the getting harder every year, the escalated talent?
I mean, yeah, like kind of, but like I also no, it's scary kind of too because like it's like I said, I feel like I'm fishing pretty good, and then you get in and you're in like 30th place. You figure you had a really pretty strong day, but yeah, just
Yeah.
got I'm not like making any excuses. I deserve to be there, and I'm gonna I expect to like be competitive, and looking forward to getting her going.
Yeah. All right. So stop one, Gussy, Toledo Bend, Louisiana, 1 to 10. How did you fish there, do you think? And then why?
I'd probably give myself an 8 there. I had a pretty good tournament to start the year, and had a really a really good second day and got, safely made the cut. But that was a minnow deal, sort of up my alley, fishing in open water. And that's a really good lake for people like up north that want to go on a trip in the wintertime, like that Toledo Bend and Rayburn. Excellent fishing, big lakes, and it's not hard. You can go kind of catch them however you want at those places.
That's dope. And then the second one was Fork, right before the Classic, 1 to 10, and why at Fork?
Yeah, Fork. I missed the cut there. I had over 20 pounds both days and missed the cut. I was in, I don't know, high 50s or something. But like, yeah, what a place that is. I had a pretty decent practice, and it got cold right before the tournament, I remember, and I sort of got sucked into shallow and sight fishing and throwing a floating worm and a swim jig around. And I think a lot of the bigger fish just kind of like pulled out a level, and the kids just like smoked everyone at that one.
I love how you keep on calling them the kids, because we all know who you're talking about, and it's not even like a derogatory term. It makes sense,
No,
but
I'm like, I get along with everyone, so I just whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, they're like 12 and 13 out there running these bass cats wide open. Yeah, it is funny. And then the Classic on Grand. How'd you fish? What'd you think about that?
Yeah, Classic there. I missed the cut by a couple places, so anytime you do that, that's no good. But yeah, I mentioned it earlier. I a lot of time flipping a jig around, throwing a crankbait around, and I like get a couple. And this is how like practice was too. I could catch like 2 or 3 big ones a day, and then I just couldn't get like 5 of them. And yeah, that's how the tournament kind of went too. I remember I know I have pictures from the tournament, like holding up a couple big beauties, but the rest of my bag were ones that you didn't want to have in there.
Yeah, it's funny how that'll happen sometimes, where you're just trying to get rid of those last couple line burners. And yeah, do you feel as the way that you fish? I mean, everybody feels pressure in whatever time it is you have to leave to get back to weigh in and whatever. But do you feel that pressure times a million when you're fishing something like the Classic and you got 2 line burners in your bag?
Well, the Classic isn't as I know you don't get as much pressure at the Classic as a elite event, because no matter what, you're making some money. It's a fun week. You're just like happy you're fishing and not having to work your butt off too hard at the expo. And whereas the elite events, like day is so important, like for points, because you don't want to miss the Classic. And what's the word I'm looking for? The outlier of that though is like if you're in the mix for the final day of the Classic, like that was stressful. And obviously, like I only caught 2 keepers on the last day, so like I did not think I was gonna win. And most days I wouldn't have won. It just was a tough place to fish that day. And luckily, like for me, it all worked out. But that was a stressful day. But in general, the Classic days aren't it's in it, like the whole week is so busy that I find that just getting like when you get to take off on Friday morning, you're just like, it's just nice to like get away from it all and just actually go fishing.
Yeah, that makes sense. All the preparation, all the build up, and like now go do it.
Fun week. Like I love it. Everyone loves it, but it's busy and it's like a lot. So yeah, it's kind of, I enjoy the, like when you can get away from the dock. I can remember, I know like I've mentioned it to several of marshals that have rode with me in the past. Like, oh man, I'm so glad to just get away from all that and let's go fishing,
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So the next stop was Harris Chain, right, in Florida, and then St. John. So how did those two shake out for you? Yep. And do you like fishing Florida? I've heard from a few Canadian guys they actually have some similarities to fishing Canada to fishing Florida, which seems weird, but maybe it's not.
Well, yeah, like a lot of our largemouths where I'm from are sort of like similar to fishing in Florida as far as like the emergent grass and bulrushes and cattails, that sort of thing. I don't know. I do like fishing in Florida. I don't love tournament fishing in Florida. But I've had a few good events down there. I finished second at one on the Harris Chain. My first pro tournament ever was at Okeechobee, and I made the top 20 cut in that. I figured, oh, this is an easy way to make money. And then was humbled the rest of the season after that. But no, it's I like fishing down there. You know, the weather's always going to be pretty good, and you know, you got a giant fish every day out. So it's yeah, I like. One thing I will say, because everyone always asks, like, oh, are there any places that you're looking forward to on the schedule? And every year, like, obviously we all have some bodies of water that we're excited for and look forward to, but a lot of the best tournaments happen like when you're not expecting them to, just at places where maybe you don't expect to. And sometimes that's just like getting in the right little zone on the lake, or you know, figuring out the hot bait or pattern, and it can be so easy sometimes. And then if you don't figure out any of that stuff, it just can be like brutal.
Yeah, that is
How
the worst.
how much different was it being there like much later in the year? You guys normally
Yeah,
go
good
like
question.
February time for Florida, and it was like April-ish, late April, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was nice as far as like not having to fight with cold fronts, because that's like
Right.
we're starting there this year again, and like we're gonna have 2 tournaments in February, and guaranteed like we're gonna get hit cold during that. It just makes the fishing down there get a lot way tougher. So you know, I like it when they're biting down there better for sure. It's going to be probably better for me. I just as a northern angler, like just a little bit more of a tendency to want to fish fast, and down there, especially when it gets tougher. I mean, you got to fish slow, and like just I know now I've learned the lesson the hard way a lot of times. If you get in a little zone where you can get some bites, you just got to really slow down and you know, cast at every pad stock that you can, and just really pick it apart. And that's how you're going to probably find some success, more than like just boom, 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 fishing really fast. Like we, you know, looking for biters, like we kind of get away with more up north.
Yeah, that was a great question, Nate.
Yeah.
And yeah, now they are, like you said, they're going back to that routine this year. But Lake
Yeah.
Murray in South Carolina, how did that one shake out for you, Gussy?
Lake Murray went pretty good. I had a decent tournament there. I think that one I sort of had a bit of a tougher fourth or third day, but yeah, that's a really fun lake. Caught them all throwing like a weightless jerk shad at topwater up on shallow points and bars, and there just be wolf packs of them chasing bait around the blueback herring. That's one of the funner lakes in the last few years that we've got to go to for sure.
Yeah. What is that new Z-Man color of yours? Because that's something sort of like that, right? Gussy's. What's it called?
Glimmer blue.
Yeah.
Glimmer blue, yeah. So it's kind of like a traditional like blue pearl color, but a lot of our waters up here, we have that, like they're clear, but they have that bit of tannic stain to them, and that color just really glows in that tannic water.
Yeah, that's a really good looking color, by the way, because it is. It's mostly pearl, but then that back has like that almost like gradient, like fade into the blue. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good lure. Up next was Wheeler in Alabama, and you did not drop any bushes in there, correct?
No, no, I wasn't involved in that at all. No. Yeah, Wheeler. I missed the cut there by a couple ounces. I had a few tournaments where I missed the day 3 cut by a couple ounces, and that was one of them. I had it was pretty tough fishing. Like I was just kind of catching one here, one there, you know, trying to top water in the morning. And then you catch a few off stumps and weed edges, just fish whatever you could find in front of you, basically. But the second day, I had one on a jerk bait, and you know how it was like a 2.5 pounder, like a nice solid one. It would have got me inside the cut for sure. I hooked it, you know, a little ways out there on my cast, and it came up. And you know how you just reel them along the surface when their mouths open and they're just like not doing anything. I reeled the whole cast pretty much. You just reeled along the surface, and right when and I had one hook. As I got closer, I see I have one hook like right in the corner. So normally I would just boat flip it, but I'm like, I'm just going to reach down and grab this thing. and I sort of start walking down into the middle of the boat to go to grab it, and I'm like reaching for it, and it does one little kick and gets off, and I can still, it was one of those ones where like you can just see it. I still can see it perfectly slowly swimming away. There was a couple F-bombs there that happened. Yeah, that one that hurts because it was one of those ones where like I knew it too. Like the weights were really tight, and you know, they don't go down very often on day 2. They usually go up a little bit, and I knew I knew I was kind of in trouble. I needed that fish. It was probably like 1:32 in the afternoon, so like you got a little bit of time to make it happen still, but that was your gift.
Yeah, gosh, that's so hard. And I know it's like everybody says, oh, you know, you got to keep going, you got to shake it off. It's all between your ears, and that's all true. But when you watch that thing swim away, it's not just so easy to like, all right, walk up to the deck and start casting again, or what. Like it for me at least, it makes me so frustrated. And I think the reason it makes me frustrated is because I can't do a dang thing about it. You know, really, and that I have no control, and that just drives me crazy sometimes.
Yeah, no, for sure, and like. Yeah, usually it's not anything that you did wrong. We've all, you know, had lines break or stuff happen, but yeah, sometimes when they come up jumping, there's just nothing you can do about it. But hang on and just hope they stay pinned. But yeah.
Yeah. So the next one, you stayed in Alabama for Smith Lake. 1 to 10. Why? How did that one feel for you?
Smith, I had a good tournament there. Made the cut, made the third day. It kind of had not as great of a third day there too. That was a little bit of a troubling pattern sort of throughout the season, maybe a bit, but sometimes you make it to that third day and you're like in the middle of the pack. You want to try to go for it a little bit more. You don't have as much to drop in the standings, and you've made some money. But yeah, Smith spotted bass fishery. So anytime we go to a spotted bass lake, I'm going to be happy. I really enjoy getting the few times a year I get to fish for them. They have a good attitude, and yeah, Smith's a real true spotted bass lake, and the fishing was pretty good there. I was a little bit worried, like it was hot. You know, that I'd only fished there in the winter, and it's really fun lake in the winter, but yeah, it was good fishing in June too. That was a big time scopers tournament. And you know, I hung in there pretty good with them in that one.
With the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. What was you don't have to let the juice loose if you don't want to, but was that a minnow rig, like a moping thing for you?
I caught it 50-50 on a minnow and a Ned rig. Like I use that Z-Man hula stick a lot. It's a 4-inch like stick worm. I'll cut it down a little bit, but I like the way it falls, and green pumpkin, and it's a really good spotted bass lake everywhere I've been. Hartwell, especially at Lake Lanier. But yeah, and then caught quite a few on just the 4-inch minnow there too. And I watched one of the Bass Live days just recently from that event, and yeah, like everyone's using a 4-inch Z-Man minnow pretty much.
Yeah, so just so you know, to give you a thank you, last time you were on here on episode 29, you took the time to show us how you rig a Ned rig with that little hula stick, and you did it with a Ned football head at the time. And I always just threw Neds on normal heads, and after that, I threw a bunch of Neds last year on that football head. Not just the hula stick, but other baits too, dude. It works awesome. I feel like you feel it more on that, and it stands up really easy, like regardless of the bottom. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, both of those, and then also just like a little bit heavier jigs too. I think you just trigger a few more fish to bite on a Ned rig. It gets down to the bottom, like doing its thing quicker, and yeah, I hardly ever use I'll use a 3/16 ounce head for like 10 feet and less, but otherwise I use a 1/4 ounce pretty much all the time. And if it's windy or in the current, I'm using a 3/8.
Yeah. And do you ever throw your Neds on bait, or is it always spinning tackle?
Yeah, I always use it on spinning tackle.
Yeah. I was catching them on Nate and I fished a 2-day tournament up on a really nice smallmouth body of water, and I was catching them on 1/4 ounce Ned heads on bait casting. I don't really know why. I just wanted to try it, and it felt good because once you hook them, it's not as balls out scary, like they're gonna come off, But
like the bait, like really light. bait casting gear, or just regular stuff?
Yeah, pretty light stuff. I don't know if you'd call it BFS or whatever necessarily, but it was definitely lighter stuff, lighter line, like a 6-8, like medium light bait casting rod. And it was odd because when they load up on it, it feels sort of like spinning with a bait cast. I don't know, maybe I sound like a stoner right now, but yeah.
That's no, it's fun catching. I don't use bait casting gear like nearly as much as I used to probably. So it is fun getting to where there's, where you can get good fish in with the bait casting gear. I appreciate it a little more probably than I used to now.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Like back in the day, we get made fun of for throwing the fairy wands and whatever. And now it's like more of that than bait casting.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, that's weird. All
Yeah,
right, so then we end the elite season last year on Champlain, St. Lawrence in order. And I know on St. Lawrence you ended what, like 14th? Isn't that what you ended up at?
Like 14th or 15th. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
There, I needed it. Champlain, that was a disaster. Kind of like going into those last two events, I'm like on the bubble to make the classic. I'm like, okay, I get 2 small tournaments, no excuses. And I go out on Champlain, and like the fishing there is phenomenal too. Like you catch a bunch of fish every day. And the first day, my first couple hours did not go very good, and then I ended up getting in a stretch and caught a bunch of nice ones, and I was inside the cut. I had 19 something, and then the second day I could hardly get a freaking bite. Like you get a limit in your live well for 12 pounds there. It's like you're that's no good. That's bad. And yeah, nothing was working. And the final like hour and a half of the day, I finally got into a stretch, and there was some schools and caught a bunch, but I only ended up with like 16 something, and finished in the 60s there too. So that was a big hit that really put the classic in jeopardy. And then, yeah, needed a good event at the last one at the St. Lawrence. And yeah, I did a full send from Waddington out into Lake Ontario. It was like I think like 2 hours and 35 minutes or something each way. I had to get, it was the biggest boat ride I'll ever make in one day, probably. But yeah, it ended up, I had 2 good days the first 2 days. The third day, the wind blew really hard out there, and I stayed up near Waddington in the river and just went for it on like a bunch of old stuff that I hadn't fished in quite a few years. But I got back each of the first couple days, and got to fish for 15 or 20 minutes, and I found a couple little groups of them, and felt like I had some good, I'll be able to catch some fish. And I fished a bunch of that stuff in the morning, and like it did not go very good. And then later in the afternoon, I got on a stretch that I found the first time I ever went there in like 2019, and caught my whole bag off it, and made the classic. So it was anytime you get to do that at the end of the year, it's been a good season. But yeah, definitely need to mix in some top 10s, and hopefully try and win, get a couple shots at winning them this year.
Yeah. Hindsight's 2020, of course, but if we can back up just a little bit, Champlain, for you, would you accredit that more to like wrong location or wrong lure presentation, or what do you think kind of caused the wheels to fall off?
I don't know. No, it's kind of was more location. Like they were just, I mean, you could see them if they're there. It wasn't like I was casting at a bunch of bass and getting denied and couldn't, it was just, yeah, I don't know. You tried the wind changed. We had a cancellation day in between the 2 days, and I don't know if that obviously moved some fish around where I was fishing. And I just never was able to kind of relocate them. And that's the challenge in these fishing all the, around the country at lakes you don't know all that well, is you got like such a limited amount of time to like figure it out and make it happen. And that's the guys that are really good are good at doing that. And I definitely always have a few events every season where it's just like it's some lakes that you just don't click with, and they're tougher on you than others. But yeah,
right on.
Do you
Champlain, because that's an awesome place to fish. I love going there. It's a factory. But yeah, I had a really good run there for a few years. And then the last 2 years that we've been out there, I missed the cut. Like they've been kind of a toughies for me. And it's not because you're not catching any fish, but you gotta catch good ones and limits of them. And, or it's crazy, but yeah, you have 17 or 18 pounds there and you're like, you're not sniffing the cut.
Yeah, that's crazy. It seems like everybody too says how awesome that fishery is, Lake Champlain. But on the St. Lawrence, what was the biggest fish you had in that tournament? Do you remember?
I had a 513 or 514 on the second day. I got a couple. I actually I caught a 6.5 and like a 6.25 one day in practice. But yeah, that place is unbelievable. Like the size of the fish there, and like you're reeling them in, and the water's so clear, and I mean, it'd be similar like at Lake Michigan too, but you look like you're reeling in a 3-pounder, and then you grab it and it's like a 4.5 or 5-pounder. Like they're built so different. But yeah, it's a fun place to fish, but the wind takes the fun out of it. If the wind blows, that's the only bad thing.
Yeah. What is it there, Gussy? Is it the gobies? Is that why they blow up like that?
I guess. I mean, yeah. There's a lot of gobies there. Like you're constantly catching them, and you put an aquaview down, and you can see them swimming around everywhere. So I guess so. They're like kind of the perfect food because they don't have any spines or anything on them. I mean, they're just like a soft, mushy, helpless minnow, that just sort of darts along on the bottom. So
Yeah.
I think they just gorge on them.
Yeah, that's actually a bait that I've used a bunch this year is the Z-Man gobies on the finesse football head. That's a dope little Ned rig too. It's kind of a slept-on Ned rig bait because it doesn't move a ton, but it get that little kick in the tail and it kind of lays flat. I don't know. I've caught quite a few of them on that.
Yeah, no, that's a cool little bait for sure.
All right, so let's go quick. Let's move through these quickly because I don't want to, I don't want to keep you in your garage forever in your winter jacket, like freezing your keister off for doing our little show. But I appreciate you so much, man. All right, so just confidence. We don't have to put a number on it. F that. I don't like that. Let's just talk about it.
Okay.
But 25. You guys' first stop is St. John's. How you feel going in there?
So last year I had a 101 there, worst finish of my career. But I learned a lot. I think I'm gonna do better this year. I'm looking forward to St. John's. I've fished there quite a few times now. It's had my number, but learned from the mistakes.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Okeechobee comes next. How you feeling about that? Because I mean, you started good there.
I like Okeechobee. We were there 2 years ago. Had a good tournament. I think it's going to be kind of a bit of a grinder as far as just the lakes just hasn't been fishing that good the last few years. But find the clear water. That's probably where the bass are going to be, and slow down and fish slow and that good stuff.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Then you have the classic at Ray Roberts.
Yeah. So been to Ray Roberts once, and it's classic. It's probably going to be a minnow tournament, but it could be big swim baits or something cool. There's big ones there. Whoever wins is going to have some big fish that they're bringing across the stage.
Yeah. So you're a pro, Gussy. For me, one of the hardest things when I'm fishing a tournament is like what you're doing right now. Let's just say, Ray Roberts is probably going to be a hover strolling, whatever. And then you get there and it's totally not. How quickly and how do you make that choice to just shift gears?
I mean, that's the thing with the forward sonar now is like, if the fish aren't there, if they're not out there, then it doesn't take you long because you'll see them if they are. And, if you don't have a lot of time in our events, like just the way the format is, we get basically 3 days of practice, and, you don't want to waste too much time doing one thing if it's not productive. I try to have like a 10-minute rule. I don't follow it that diligently, but if I fish an area for 10 minutes or a stretch and I don't get a bite or see anything that I want to see, you got to move on. And that's just how I try to kind of roll especially when I'm practicing. But just look, most of the time I want to like just cover as much ground and look for biters as I can.
Yeah. So the next one is kind of a unique one, I think, which is the Pasquotank River, Albemarle Sound in North Carolina. I don't think I've ever seen you guys go there. I know of the fishery. I know it's kind of an estuary, but it's also humongous. What are you feeling about that? Have you been there before? Do you know about it?
I know nothing about it other than
Okay.
Cooper Gallant went there. He's one of my pals, and he went there this fall, and he just said it's huge. So it's big water to run, to the some of the different rivers that you can fish. But MLF fished there last year in the bay, farther than from where we're taking off. And I think I'm not sure if Wheeler won that one or not, but
Probably.
I know he did well. But yeah, that's a new one for me. Tidal fishery. My history on the tidal fisheries is not great, but I'm put a swim jig and flip in my hand, and if I just probably stick to that, I'll get my chances.
Yeah. How do you feel in general, Gussy, when it comes to a body of water? Because, there's always that sort of dynamic. If you go to a body of water that you've been to a million times, you get wrapped up in fishing old stuff. If you go to a body of water you haven't been to, maybe it's so fresh that you fish something nobody else would. What's your take on that, fishing new bodies of water? Are you just kind of like balls out, like, let's just go and see what happens? Or how's your mindset?
Yeah, like I've fought the memories at a lot of places many times. And the one thing that I've learned about like a lot of the southern fisheries is from year to year they change a lot more than our northern fisheries do. Like up here, if you find a good rock or a weed clump, or the stuff doesn't really move, and it's usually kind of good year after year unless too many people find it or fish it. Whereas down south, like water levels change a lot more, clarity changes. It just seems like I save my waypoints everywhere, and like usually they're irrelevant, like unless it's a brush pile or really something unique. But the fisheries change a lot more.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure. Up next is Hartwell. If you're from there, you can't say Hartwell. You got to say Hartwell. But how you feel about that?
I like
Speaking of brush piles,
That's kind of up my alley. We got some spotted bass there, some largemouths. I've had some good events at Hartwell before. So yeah, looking forward to that one. There'll probably be some. We've been there in April a couple times in the past. There'll be some spawning going on, and probably some offshore fish as well.
Yeah. I think it'll be. With the time of year you're going, I think it can be one of those like everything's in play. All depths, times, whatever, as far as the spawn. And then you go back to Lake Fork.
Yeah, Fork in May. I've had some good tournaments there in May before. There'll be a good shad spawn bite in the morning probably, and then I'll probably try and fish offshore in the afternoon. But Fork's a cool place because you can just catch them a lot of different ways. I caught 2 years ago when we were there in May on day 3. I caught an 8-10 flipping a tree. With a jig. So that was my best favorite catch of the year for sure from that year. And it's a fun place to fish because you just never know you're gonna like set the hook on.
Yeah, they're all over down there. They're all like when you on a jig, you set that hook and you almost think you're snagged for a sec because it just pulls back on your rod so hard.
Yeah, that's how this one was. And it was funny. It was near a boat ramp, and my wife was kind of late picking me up. So I was just flipping around these trees by the boat ramp one night in practice, like right before dark. And I caught a 5-pounder off this one sort of isolated tree. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So the first day I had a decent day. I didn't fish it. And the second day, I was kind of like cutting her down to the last hour. And like, I need one more good one, like to make the cut probably. And I come up to this tree and I can see there's a couple blobs down there, and I flip in and I get like a 3.5. And I think that helped me a little bit, but probably like didn't do the job. And I dealt with that, and I sort of got set back up again. I flipped out on the other side of it and I caught a 5.5. So like, okay, right on, we're fishing tomorrow. And then the same tree, I fished it in the afternoon on day 3, and I got that 8-10 off of it. So it's
Good
kind of
Lord.
a tree. I a good waypoint on where.
Yeah, that sounds like a magic tree that you probably don't want to tell too many people about.
No.
That's awesome. And then still stay in Texas. The Sabine, how you feel about that?
Sabine, I'm looking forward to it. I know it's not everyone's most exciting event. I've been there
Yeah.
and I had brutal finishes both times, but same. I'm looking forward to learning from some of the mistakes, and I'm gonna catch some fish there this time. It's funny, if you just went there fishing, when there wasn't a big tournament going on, it would be a fun place to fish. It just doesn't fish that big, and that's the sort of battle there, I think, in a lot of the little areas that I've sort of gone and tried to fish in the past. But I'll probably just stay within a mile of the takeoff, and and that seems to be where it goes down the last few times.
Yeah, that seems to be the juice. Just stick
Yeah.
close to the landing. Just pull a Jordan Lee, pretend like your outboard failed, and stick right by the landing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So then we have isn't this Tommy Biffle's home lake, 10 Killer? Isn't that where he's from?
It's Jason Christie's home lake, and
Yeah.
so that's who I
Didn't
actually, and
didn't Carl win on it?
stay at his place for that one. What's that?
Didn't Carl win on 10 Killer?
One when we were supposed to fish Fort Gibson in 2019, which is right next to, not that far away from 10 Killer, and it flooded. So it was like the week before they moved us to 10 Killer. So it was kind of a fun tournament because it was like this smaller lake. No one knew anything about it. And yeah, we just went out and fished and had a good event there. But yeah, it's a fun lake, lots of fish. It's not that big, so that'll be a bit of a challenge probably in June, but I'm excited for that one for sure.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Christy
There too, like that, and you could get a nice one of all three species of bass. So not many lakes offer that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's super dope. Does that change your strategy thinking at all for all three?
No, not really. You kind of get them mixed together there. It's just one of those sort of Clearwater Ozark lakes, and yeah, you never know what you're going to catch there, really, to be honest.
That's kind of awesome.
Just like get the biggest, like that's what you want to run into, but you could get big smallmouths in decent spots for sure.
All right, so we got two left, and then I want to ask you one kind of weird question, and then I don't know if Nate has anything else, and then we'll let you get out of here. And again, bottom of my heart, thank you, brother. We appreciate you so much. St. Clair. So, what does St. Clair say to you? Where does your brain go?
Yeah, smallmouth tournament, and bust out the finesse gear at that place probably, because you got to find the part of the lake that has the big ones and figure out how to catch them.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. And then the last one, Gussy. So if you need somewhere to stay, we're about 45 minutes from there. La Crosse, Mississippi River. Are you a Mississippi River, La Crosse area fan? What do you think about it?
You know what? I've only fished there twice, and I had an FLW event there in May in like 2017, and I missed the class or the Forcewood Cup that year by like 9 points, and I only had 4 fish on day 2 of that tournament. And if I would have got just like a 2-pounder, I would have made the Forcewood Cup that year. So I was not a fan of that place. It was flooded, like tough fishing, and then 2 years ago, we ended the season there on the Elite Series, and I had a really good tournament, really fun week. So I'm looking forward to that one. Like, yeah, you're gonna get some frog smashes and swim jig fish, few flipping. I caught quite a few on a topwater last time, so yeah, it's a fun place to fish for sure.
Yeah, it's such a fun, that area of the Mississippi River. It's just so freaking fun. Like you said, when you say La Crosse, everybody thinks frogging, but yeah, swim jigs play like crazy. Finding good wing dams play like crazy. Flipping in certain areas is really dope. So you said it was flooded. Do you subscribe to the idea, Jeff? When the water's up, follow the fish up, like that whole like if they're up, you go up too. Do you fish that way?
Oh yeah, well I've learned that on the hard way big time over the year, like especially in the early years, because I just didn't I learned that one the hard way, but yeah, that happens for sure. And probably in that event, I probably did not just keep it simple and do that. Like that's the one thing, like getting to fish with a lot of these guys, like they just do it. They do a lot of the little things just right and simple things right. Like it's not a lot of secret lures and and sneaky stuff. You know, it's just do the little things right, make good casts. When you're flipping, don't make a big splash. Like this, so many little things that do those right, and that's what these guys are really good at.
Yeah. Do you know who Tom Mansour is, Gussy?
Yeah, of course.
Of course, yeah. So he's a lacrosse legend. I bumped
Yep.
into him at Quick Trip maybe 2 months ago, and I'd met him before, but of course he has no idea who I am. But he's very like Al Linder to me, like just one of those guys I've looked up to for so long. He's just so freaking nice, makes all of his own jigs in his house, and he's got lacrosse dialed forwards, backwards, and sideways. But yeah, he's a cool cat.
Yeah, no, I fished a lot of tournaments against him on the, all the years I fished the FLW tour. He was fishing it too. So, yeah, no, he's a cool guy, and pretty, like you say, well respected. Like I think a lot of people feel the same way you do about him.
Yeah, he's a cool cat. Nate, you got anything to throw in on the tournament stops from last year to this year? I have a kind of a weird question, and then if you got anything else, Nate.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think we kind of touched on everything from last season to this season. So I'm just kind of curious on what exactly this weird question is you have. You've kind of got me got me wondering here.
Yeah, so well, for one thing, when you flip, Gussy, are you a fan of the palmetto bug? We had Miles Berghoff on the other day, and a fellow Z-Man guy. Do you like that bait?
So the Z-Man baits, the only thing that I don't love them for is like heavy flipping, because the plastic's so soft, the hook points always want to pop through, and like if you're punching, like with a 3/4 or 1 ounce or more. But if that palmetto bug on like a 3/8 ounce for just like clumpy grass, milfoil or coontail or hydrilla, whatever it is, it's great for that because it falls down to the bottom and then it just stands up, and it has a lot more action than your traditional plastic.
Yeah. All right. So my that wasn't my weird question. Just to be clear, the weird question is, if you were given the power to change anything in the world of bass fishing, one thing, and it doesn't matter what it is, but you could change one thing about bass fishing across the board, tournament fishing, fun, whatever. One thing to change, what would it be?
I wish we could have a tournament or two each year in Canada, because we have some awesome big bodies of water up here that would be awesome tournament lakes. And obviously, like, there's border issues and work permit issues, and it's never going to probably happen. But yeah, I wish that could happen.
Yeah, that was a good answer. That was a quick answer too. Yeah, that's true.
Right,
Because
yeah.
like there is some incredible fisheries up there. And I always wondered why they didn't fish Lake of the Woods or whatever. I didn't know if it was like going to California. It's just too far. Obviously I didn't factor in the border crossing stuff.
Yeah, no, that would be the biggest hurt for sure. But yeah, we have some awesome lakes up here. Like Woods would be a sick place to have a big tournament, because these guys figure out different ways to catch them than the locals do. Like everywhere we go, like guys make the top 10 just doing like off the wall unique stuff, and I would love to see what these guys come up with if they came and fished up here.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be awesome. Gussy, we will let you get out of here on that note. Bottom of my heart, we appreciate you. We will be absolutely 1,000,000% cheering for you this season, man. We're rooting for you. We're in your corner.
All right.
Yep, every stop.
Yeah, if you guys get to lacrosse, make sure you come and say hi, and yeah, I'll be following along.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's literally 45 minutes from my house, like just south. I mean, it's right down the road for me. So I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there talking to everybody I can. So maybe I'll get to actually shake your hand and meet you in person this time.
Yeah, make sure you come and say hi for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, brother. We appreciate you.
Maybe we can link up for some tacos or something.
Yeah, okay, I would love that. My wife would.
There we go.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later. Thanks, Gussy.
Take care, guys.
All right, man. Bye.
Peace.
Jeff, Gussy, Gustafson. There's just nothing to not like about the dude.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like, what can you even say? Like, he sat there and went through every stop last year, every stop this year, and was just so like authentic with it. Got specific on some stuff, was real cool, a good sport about everything. What could you not like about that dude?
Yeah, no. We talked about it kind of before he came on, and a little bit, but just a genuine fella. Like, I mean, everything that he talks about, like, you can tell that he believes in the products he's using. He's used them for years and years and years, and it definitely shows. So
Yeah, and I like how when we brought up the NRX with Stella combo, he was real quick to be like, it's not like I got a whole boat full of them, because of
yeah,
anybody who's listening to this, if you don't know what we're referring to when we say this, because we don't ever want to be so in the weeds on fishing stuff that people are like, what does that mean? What's an NRX? What's a Stella? NRX is a model of rod, and now there's like the NRX Plus, a model of rods by G. Loomis, which was made by a fellow named Gary Loomis, and they're very, very high-end rods. They're awesome. They look good. They feel good. They're like lifting a pencil. They're so light, super sensitive. If you ever see the dudes rocking them, they're like a medium kind of charcoal gray blank, and then the wraps are like this really pretty light blue. They're dope looking rods, and those ones that he's using are probably about $600 for the rod each. And then the Stella, depending on which model, which series, which size he's using, will range anywhere from like $700 to $800. So you're talking, $1,400-$1,500 for a combo, which is crazy. I will say though, I've played with a couple Stellas, not my own, but are they worth $800 for a spinning reel? I don't know. But what I will say is that the drag system on them is absolutely bananas. You can get so specific. It's not like click, click. It's like for every 2 clicks on like a regular spinning reel, there's like 30 clicks on the Stella. So you can get very fine tuned, and it's really tough drag, super sensitive. But this is what he does for a living. Like Nate said one time when we were having the godforsaken stupid debate of forward-facing sonar and should there be limits and blah, blah, blah. I thought Nate made the greatest point ever. He was like, if you were a professional chef, you wouldn't say you can only have this grade of knife. Like, you'd have the best knives out there. And so Gussy is using the best knives out there, but he was also like humble enough to be like, well, it's not a whole boat full of them.
yeah, no, that's exactly it. And man, I don't think I've even played with a Stella. I've seen a couple in the cases and stuff, but yeah, I've heard about how crazy smooth the drag system is, and that's for fighting those big smallies, in those northern waters or really all over the country. That's what you got to have when you're top tier, upper level.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you're not using a slower car if you're a race car driver.
No,
Yeah, Stellas aren't even something you really see in the stores, generally speaking. Like, they don't sell them at Bass Pro. Well, maybe they do. I've never seen one there, but they're not on those little like short blanks that you can play with. Like, that's that's like a different
yeah,
case that thing's sitting in. But
yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Also, I really do. I wish him the best of luck this year. I think he's got a good game plan for all those things. And like he said, it's true with live scope, it changes the way that you change game plans, to a certain point, as far as like, if you're looking around on scope and you don't see them, then they're not there. It makes it easier to say, okay, I'm going to move. Whereas before it was like more of a guessing game.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Man, even like the schedule's changing so much from I guess what it was last year to this year. He's going to have a real different approach to it. He talked about that, so that's cool. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the elite season starting. Get to watch some bass fishing here come late February when we're still frozen and freezing. But
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I am too, man. I'm just hoping that, like he said, that some of that drama crap doesn't happen this year. People accused of, getting on pad in no wake areas, or making their own brush piles, or, whatever else, some of the nonsense last year. Like, I just hope it doesn't happen this year, because bass fishing really is the sport, the culture, the vibe, the life that we all love. And to see it kind of get ugly, like, I don't want that. That's dumb. And if you're listening and you're one of those grown ass men who does videos with the camera pointed at your face, sharing your opinion about cheating, please stop. Please stop. Like, please stop.
Yeah.
Like, if you ain't in it, if you're not there, whatever, like, talk to your homies about it. Sure. I'm not saying don't talk about it, but like, just stop with the videos. Stop with the clickbait videos. Here's what actually happened to Trey McKinney. Shut up. Just stop. Just stop, please.
Yeah, because you have no clue. You have no
You don't
idea.
know.
You're not a
Yeah.
singular clue.
No.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and you know what I'm saying? Like, exit the internet. Like, we don't respect you, so just please stop with those videos. I could think of a couple channels right now, but I won't because I don't want to call anybody out by name. That ain't professional. But whatever, move on. So Nate, you got anything else before we close up shop? This has been a cool streak of cool podcasts so far. We got more to come.
Yeah, no, we're definitely on a roll with some awesome guests that we've worked with here the last few days, and you know, more to come. So I'm stoked for it. So let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing tonight is there was something going on with Gussy's mic. Whenever either one of us would make a sound, it was like muting his talking. Did you hear that too or feel that?
I did. Honestly, I thought it was only me because it seemed like anytime I said something is when it really kind of cut him off, and I wasn't sure
Yeah.
if it was maybe just my headphones or if
No,
it
there
was
was something going
actually
on.
doing it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it was. Oh, excuse me. One of those burps that came up when you weren't really waiting, ready for it. Just kind of rolled up out of there. Just rose up on its own. But yeah, I don't know if it was something with his internet connection, the way he had his phone sitting. I'm not sure, but every time we spoke, it like cut him off. And I really like when somebody's answering a question. I really like being like, "Oh yeah," or like, or just kind of encouraging like that. Like, yeah, I get what you're saying. And I felt like I couldn't, so I was just nodding a bunch, hoping he could see me nodding and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And yet, it was still an engaging conversation because he's a freaking Bassmaster Classic champion. And if he told me, the monkey baits swim better underneath the moonlight sun, I'd be like, oh, really? Like whatever he says, I'm going to be bought into it. But, it's kind of sucked that it got weird. Yeah, exactly. Dude, do you remember that rage bait? What was it called? The space monkey?
No,
Isn't that what it was called? The space monkey? Hold on, let me look. I'm Googling now. I know this is not professional. But yeah, I remember, the space monkey. It's the Strike King Rage Tail space monkey. They still make it apparently. It's like a weird. It kind of reminds me of that Dean Rojas fighting frog, the big bite baits. It kind of looks like that, and so obviously the Rage appendages are the ones that have the little lips on the end. They work so good, they move good, whatever as a trailer. The homie Kelly, you remember Kelly, Nate?
Oh yeah, for sure.
We were fishing back in Sylvan Slough area, kind of on the river, and he was flipping a space monkey. I'm not really sure why, because they look silly almost. And he stuck a walleye that had to be smooth over 6 or 7 pounds. And then for whatever reason, he decided the best thing to do with this space monkey biting walleye was to boat flip it. And he hit the gunnel on the outside of it, and it came off and splashed back in the water. That did not work out, but it was a giant. It was probably, like, for that area, the biggest walleye I've ever seen. But that space monkey boy. Anyway, that's it. Let's move on to the next one. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you look on YouTube right now, on the video, there's the little banner going by for all things Gussy. It's gussyoutdoors.com. His website is kind of old school and kind of awesome. So he basically uses it like a blog almost. He does updates, and then off to the left, there's like all these links for like social stuff, for videos, sponsors. He's also an outdoor writer, a pretty prolific writer. Gussy's a cool dude. So otherwise, like I said before, Tackling Tacos for socials, tackleandtacos.com for the website. And let's go, Nate.
That's it. Peace. What's the line? Positivity is worth the effort.
That's it. Bye-bye.